Skip it up and that up. It's interesting to see how games publishers are changing their tune towards the PlayStation 4 Neo and Project Scorpio. In the beginning, when there were rumblings about the PS4 Neo, we heard developers complaining about it. They thought, like, it's another platform we have to develop for. It's still going to be a pain in the ass. That seems to be changing, and now a lot of publishers and developers are excited for the upcoming consoles from Sony and Microsoft. That includes EA, Ubisoft, and Take-Two Interactive. But it's not only them now. Epic CEO Tim Sweeney is also excited about Sony and Microsoft's upcoming more powerful consoles. This is what he had to say to Eurogamer. Now, when asked about consoles that have similar upgrade cycles to PCs, this is what Tim Sweeney had to say. It ensures that people always have access to the latest and greatest hardware, and games don't go out of date over a 7-year cycle, together with the fact that there's a box you could go and buy, or 2 boxes, and you're guaranteed that everything can work. And I think the configurations for developers are very reasonable. The console industry will grow and sustain its user base much better if it doesn't have to reset its user base to 0 every 7 years. The idea of throwing everything out and doing everything from scratch every 7 years is completely crazy. And everything Epic's done with our new game development approach involving these online games we're going to maintain over time, it's about building games where we don't have to reset our user base to 0 when we want to add new features. I'm still skeptical on how Project Scorpio and PS4 Neo will fit into the current generation cycle. I'm not saying they're not going to be successful, but I don't know if I'm buying from Sony and Microsoft how they're not going to leave anybody behind. Now, in this generation, what they're doing with the PS4 Neo and Xbox One Scorpio, especially the Xbox One Scorpio. I keep hearing rumblings that the new PS4, the PS4 Neo is coming out this year. It doesn't burn my ass that much because they're pretty much giving the original base Xbox One the same life cycle as they did with the original Xbox, their first Xbox back in late 2001. They came out with the 360 late in 2005. I've talked about this before. It's just a tad short, just a tad shy of being a full generation lifespan, the 5-year lifespan. They're giving the original Xbox One a 4-year lifespan. And according to them, they're not going to leave anybody behind who owns an Xbox One. Okay, that's good. And I'm sure in the beginning they'll do that where you buy a game, they're going to have the Scorpio enhanced version on there and the original Xbox One version. But what about when time goes on? What about a couple years into the cycle where they're just not going to, like a developer goes to Microsoft and says, hey, we want to add this feature in and we could put it on the Scorpio, but the hardware from the original Xbox One is just not going to let it happen. We cannot add this gameplay feature. It's not enhanced graphics. It's not enhanced gameplay. The Xbox One does not have, the original one does not have the horsepower to support it. And, when we go a couple years into the Scorpio cycle, and there's arguably maybe even more people that own a Scorpio than the base Xbox One, I don't know if I trust that they'll actually stick to that and be like, well, shit, we have this AAA game that's probably going to sell tens of millions of copies in the Scorpio. We don't want to hold it back. So, yeah, you know what? Put those extra features on the Scorpio version and leave them off the Xbox One. It's a couple years into it. The Scorpio is more affordable. People just go out and buy it. I'm telling you that I can't picture that not happening. I can't. It would be almost in a way illogical for them not to do that. You understand what I'm saying? And that's where I'm concerned, where Tim Sweeney's looking at it from a utopia or a euphoric standpoint where it's like, oh, everyone, you're going to have all these people with different capability Xbox Ones, but no one's going to be left behind. It's going to be like on PC, how some people are playing their game on low, some people are playing their game on medium, some people are playing their game on ultra or high or whatever. It's still a different... I understand the hardware is going to be very similar, and I could also, I'm kind of being my own devil's advocate and arguing with myself here. Why can't they just make the Scorpio version and whittle the game down to work on the Xbox One? Just keep on taking away, features and graphics until it works on the Xbox One. But who as in console owner is going to want to have the really watered down version? When is it going to get too much, where they're taking away too much from the Xbox One version and the Scorpio version's so much better? I don't see it just everyone living in harmony and, oh, I have the original Xbox One from 2013 and you have the Scorpio version. It looks so much better, it runs so much better, but I'm happy with my Scorpio version. I just don't picture people doing that. And console gamers are used to having, whether you own a launch console or a console, right at the end of the life cycle, right before they come out with another new console, they're used to having the same game across the board. And I can't picture people being like, oh, I have the shittiest version of this game on the original Xbox One, but the Scorpio version's so much better. But I'm totally happy with not having that version. I can't picture that. And I can't picture a couple years into the Scorpio's life cycle, Microsoft turning around and, oh, there are no console left behind right now. But I just have this feeling that in the future, they're going to be like, you know what? If you really can't put that feature on the Xbox One version, it can only work with the hardware of the Scorpio because the Xbox One hardware, the original Xbox One hardware isn't capable enough. Yeah, put it on there. Put it on there. We're fine with it. The other thing that concerns me too, now, like I said, my ass isn't burning too much. Like I said, it's almost a full console cycle that they're coming out with the Scorpio. It's coming out at the end of 2017. They came out with the original Xbox One at the end of 2013. All right, no big deal. But what happens if they're just testing the waters right now and the Scorpio flies off the shelves, even if it's like $550 and it's flying off the shelves, people are excited. They want to jump into 4K gaming, even though I'm still curious as to how well it'll handle true native 4K gaming, the Scorpio, even with 6 teraflops of power. What happens if they're testing the water and they're like, oh shit, they will go out and buy a new console, even though, it's not a full life cycle. They'll go out and buy it, even though they just bought the Xbox One a few years ago. How about instead of waiting 4 years, next time we wait only 3 years or 2.5 years? And then the next thing you know, every 2 years, they're coming out with a new improved Xbox One. I don't see Tim Sweeney's vision where everyone's going to do, what are the developers going to do? Make 20 different versions of the game? And I understand, like I said, I'm going to be my own devil's advocate again, where they'll make the high-end version, and if the architecture is the same with all the different Xbox Ones, and they'll just whittle it down for each version, maybe it won't be so bad. But what happens if they have 5 different Xbox Ones? They have Xbox One, Project Scorpio 2, Project Scorpio X, Project Scorpio Elite, or whatever. I'm just making up names. You're going to have that many different consoles and have to have that many different versions of the game? I don't know, man. This is the strangest thing I've seen in the games industry. It's going to be really interesting to see how it works out. I still get these flashbacks of like the 32X and the Sega CD, but maybe they will find a way to, make this all work. And you can't trust these companies on their word, though. Remember how at E3, Microsoft was saying, oh, every new exclusive Microsoft title is going to be Play Anywhere. Where you could get it on PC, you could get it on the Xbox One. Now they're saying all the titles we showed at E3. They changed the wording so that doesn't mean every Xbox One title in the future is also going to be playable on PC. So they flipped up their wording. So you can't trust them on what they say. It's still a corporation. Phil Spencer, even though he seems like he's a great guy, still works for a corporation, and he's going to cover his ass to make sure he gets his big juicy paycheck. I'm not knocking the guy. He's a human, but you can't trust them on everything. And I'll end the video by saying this again. I know I said it a few times, but I just want it to sink into your heads. I don't picture them a couple years into the much more powerful Project Scorpio's life cycle telling developers that they have to shoehorn games onto the original Xbox One, even if it means leaving out gameplay features because they just won't work with the anemic original Xbox One hardware. I'm not buying it. I'm not. I think it would be naive for anyone to believe that they're never going to say, oh yeah, you know what? If you want to put those features on the Scorpio version, then they won't work on the Xbox One version. I just can't picture them saying don't do it in the future. They may do it for a year or two, but after that, I just see them allowing devs to do what they want to and maybe making Scorpio only features. It's just the way the business works, man. And I can't picture them not doing that. This is Rich, Review Tech USA, signing out. Have a good one.